Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is the Eagles post-game show, Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli, and we're going to look at yesterday's 24-17 loss to the Washington Commanders. And boy, I tell you what, it's stuck a spear in me. I did not expect that to happen. So there are so many permutations to this decision to rest your starters. Let's go over all the cliches, right? You play with fire, you can get burned. You run with scissors. Sometimes you're going to get cut. All those things applied to yesterday as the Eagles decided, and Nick Sirianni decided to rest his starters against the Washington Commanders for to keep everybody healthy. Now, I'm not going to be one of these guys that said, I told you so. But I did tell you so last week on a previous show. I said there's no way I would not play my starters because the number 2 seed is a very coveted spot. And now I know there are Eagle fans out there that are going to disagree with this, and you're going to come at me all day, and you can come at me on the chat board all day today. And the bottom line is that you don't want to think your team could get beat by anybody in the playoffs, and that's certainly true. If you believe in your team, you believe they can handle anybody. But let's play chess instead of checkers here. Let's look at because part of being a coach is to look at your path and look at the process of you getting to a Super Bowl. So let's say the Eagles right now against the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe you think they can win that game, and they're favored. They're 3.5-point favorites as we sit right here. Maybe you think that's all well and good. The 49ers defense is terrible. They're all banged up. There's no way they can come in to Lincoln Financial Field and win a game in the playoffs. Now, remind you that it's revenge for the 49ers. You know what happened the last time they were here with that no quarterback and all that kind of stuff, and all they did was cry about it all off season. But let's look at the big picture here. To get the number 2 seed, getting the number 2 seed not only puts you against a lesser opponent, the Green Bay Packers certainly lesser than the San Francisco 49ers as an opponent, but it also puts you in position to host a second round game at home. But also, let's even take it a little further, because suppose the number 1 seed slips, suppose the Seattle Seahawks get beat by somebody along the way. That would mean you would host the NFC title game at home, where the Eagles are pretty damn good. Now, on the road, they're 0-2. They lost both times to Tampa Bay. So that's the circumstance. I would have played my starters. I would have played to win that game. You can never take anything for granted. Who knew that the Chicago Bears were going to lose the Detroit Lions? I certainly didn't think that was going to happen last game of the year. But the Lions had a little fight, and the Bears had less of a fight, maybe because they were already in, and they thought they could just roll out the football and win that game. But I look at the big picture here. Now, I know Nick Sirianni said the only thing he could control was not the result, but keep his team healthy. And that's all well and good. You kept everybody healthy. So now you're going in with a full contingent of healthy players. But the other side of the coin is that you also have to negotiate your path through the playoffs. And I believe that the Eagles should have won that game, that take the Bears' loss, move up to the 2nd seed, and it would have been a lot easier path for them to get to a Super Bowl. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I know the comments are going to come in hot and heavy on this, because a lot of people don't want to admit that. See, here we go. That's first of all, let me bring in my producer, Mike Warren, because Mike, I want to get your opinion like right away with this particular situation. We talked about it last week. At least I talked about it. I said there's no way I would not play for the number 2 seed, because that gives you a decided advantage going into the playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to kind of rest your starters going into this game. I know that's not the view that many, afterwards are going to have. And I know that wasn't your view going into it.
The same thing. Most people are agreeing with you, Mike.
I have that AJ Brown injury a couple years back sticks out so far in my mind. And if you lose a pivotal player, now granted they played Devontae Smith yesterday, so he could get his 1,000 yards and get his incentive bonus. If he had gone down, I would not have been happy. But
they played Jordan Davis a lot in the game as well.
Yep, and Moro Ojomo, he played a ton too. The defensive line, the starters played a lot yesterday. So there was picky and choosy, sort of, so to speak, for Nick on who he was going to play and who he wasn't. But the fact that you got to save 65% of your starters for the most part and give them a bye week and fresh legs, I like that going into it based on what they did last year and how it boded them for the run in the long haul. I know it's frustrating. You could have had the Packers coming into town, and I said it myself. The 49ers are the one team I don't want to see, but we got them.
All right, but here's the thing. Why must we presume that someone is going to get hurt? Like the presumption like Sirianni's saying the only thing I can control is that they didn't get hurt. But why do we have to presume that somebody would have gotten hurt? This team has been a pretty healthy team all year long.
It's a good point. And if they continue that mantra of being the more physical team, then they shouldn't get hurt. If they're inflicting the physicality, then you're right. They shouldn't get hurt. But it's just something about these late season games, year in and year out, when you have the playoff secured, the injuries, the thought of the injuries always come into the back of the mind, or the front of the mind, I should say.
So if San Francisco comes to Lincoln Financial Field and beats them, then what are you going to say?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Second guess yourself.
I guess we're going to say fire Kevin Patullo.
Okay, so then if you win that game, you have to go on the road to Chicago, which is tougher than you would be if you're hosting the second round of the playoffs. Like, to me, that's the priority. The priority is to guarantee you the best chances to win, to advance. And you're not doing that if you don't play your starters in that last game. That's all I'm saying.
I think that what you're saying is definitely right, but I also think that this team has a blueprint and has an identity of what it takes to win in the playoffs, and they definitely this is a coaching staff that is a players' coaching staff. So you know that in those meeting rooms it was all right. Who's got what on the line? Who needs what to get that incentive? Let's see, if that's realistically attainable, and versus the algorithm that they have for guys that could get hurt. So. Yeah, I think there were a lot of conversations, a lot of difficult conversations, so to speak, this week. But at the end of the day, they kept the key guys healthy. A.J. Brown's healthy. Saquon's healthy. Tank Bigsby looks great going into this playoff game. And honestly, I think you got to rely on the ground game going against San Fran moving forward.
We're going to talk about, obviously, the upcoming game with the 49ers after we review this particular game. Let's go to our text board like right away. Ford 9065 says, Nick, dumb decision, bottom line. It's one of many moves by him. Also fire KP. Well, you're not going to fire Kevin Patullo at this point. Kimberly says, I don't mind that he didn't use the starters. J.S. Poorman, or Jay Sporman, says, Bears aren't even favored at home against the Packers. Fairly good chance the Birds host round 2 after all. Possible. It is possible. But I wouldn't think the Packers are going to beat the Bears there. I think you should have played more starters, Ford says. That's my point. They were horrendous with the guys they rolled out, so maybe a bit more would have been nice. They lost a 90-year-old Josh Johnson. I shouldn't be so angry about that, but I am. Oh, I am too. And that's the point. You allow that quarterback to beat you at home with your backups who were terrible in the game. And, I just don't see the merit of going out there and thinking you could win a game that way.
There's two sides to this, like the momentum side of it, where it's like you want to play a good, clean brand of football going into the playoffs. You want to have this precedent of we are the team to beat, we are the defending champs. And, based on what they did last year with the twos, I think there was a level of expectation going into this game that the Eagles second stringers should blow the Washington team out of the water. But for Nick Sirianni to get up on the podium after the game and say that they had a good week of practice when they committed a lot of the same mistakes that they did during their losing streak, the pre-snap penalties, the holding calls, it could not have been a good week of practice, because the miscues that added up ultimately were the reason why you lost the game yesterday.
Exactly. All right, Mike, we'll get back to you in a second. All right, here's the deal. McKee was not good, and I know they like this guy. He looked skittish the whole game. Early on, he hit some passes, especially the one to Devontae, who played to get his 1,000. I thought it was interesting that they played Devontae to get the incentive of 1,000 yards, but they didn't play Saquon last year in the same kind of situation to get the NFL record. I thought that was really interesting. In any event, the backups in the secondary were terrible. Ja'Cory Bennett and Keely Ringo and Michael Carter. They were horrendous. And you know the reason now that they struggled so long to hold down that other cornerback slot, and Dory Jackson won it by default and kept it during the season, maybe because the backups were just so bad they couldn't take a chance. And Dory Jackson actually played pretty well this year for them. The Eagles now gave up 90 yards in pass interference penalties. 90 yards in pass interference penalties. I mean, that is just incredible. All Josh Johnson had to do was throw the ball up and get contact, and that was their biggest offensive weapon, gaining those kind of yards on pass interference penalties. All right, so they took a chance. It blew up in their face. And and a horrendous play by Keely Ringo to give up the game-winning touchdown. You all saw it. I don't know what he was thinking. I guess he was thinking Josh Johnson had an open receiver behind him when he pump faked, and Keely retreated, thinking Josh Johnson wasn't going to run it. But a terribly non-instinctive play by Keely Ringo on that to give Washington Commanders to 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to come from behind to win that game. All right, let's go to our statistical matchup here. The Josh Johnson, of course, was 14 for 22 for 131 yards. That's terrible. His rating was 76.1, and they won the game. Chris Rodriguez for Washington, 16 carries. He ran tough for 65 yards. Josh Johnson did carry the ball 9 times. He scrambled pretty well for 45 yards. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, 13 carries for 29 yards. On the other side, Tanner McKee, 21 of 40 for 241 yards. He threw the ball 40 times with Tanner McKee yesterday. Just inexcusable. Tank Bigsby did carry the ball 16 times. Shipley only got 1 carry. Now, would you ride Tank Bigsby for more than 16 carries? Probably you should have in this particular situation. Devontae Smith caught 3 balls when he was in there for 52 yards. Jahan Dotson, who was kind of the featured receiver, 3 balls for 40 yards. Darius Cooper, three catches for 33 yards. Bigsby caught 1 out of the backfield. Kylan Granson had 4 pretty decent catches for 30 yards. Grant Calcaterra got a touchdown catch in there with his 2 catches. Britton Covey pressed in the service, got a couple catches. Will Shipley got a couple. So they got 21 catches, and A.J. Dillon even got 1 in that game yesterday. So team stats, let's look at our team stats here. First downs. Sorry about that. All right. Team stats. I got some noise. Okay. All right. So there we go. Devontae Smith, of course, gets 1,000 yards, and I don't know if there's an incentive there in his contract or what. But let's go to some comments after the game with the participants. Nick Sirianni, first of all, does he regret resting his starters? Here's what Nick had to say about that.
No, again, you go through your process. You make what you think is the best decision for the football team, and that's what we did. I knew this was an outcome that these things could happen. Like I said to you guys, one thing I could guarantee was giving them rest. I couldn't guarantee anything else. And us being healthy and going into the playoffs healthy is a big deal for us. And, that's served us well in the past. And so, again, I know there'll be debate on that, but, again, I have to do what I think is best for the football team moving forward. And that's what I did.
Okay. I mean, listen, you got to go by your decision. You got to trust your decisions. You got to put some thought into it and figure out what the best thing for your team is. And it's good that everybody's healthy going into the playoffs. I just think part of the whole process has to be your process in getting to advance. And I just don't see why you would take the chance on not beating the Washington Commanders and thinking that the Bears, were going to automatically win that game. The Bears are slumping right now. So, J.S. Sportman's got a good read on this because they got a bye, and the Bears are a bad number 2 seed. That needs to be part of the thought process. Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. They're a bad number 2 seed, so you're not afraid of them if you have to play them in the second round. That's all well and good. So I'm okay with that. I think the Eagles are a better team than the 49ers and the Bears. So they should do what's necessary to advance to an NFC title game, which may be in Seattle or may not be in Seattle. But again, I'm looking at if Seattle does lose, and they could very well lose in this tournament, the Eagles would have a chance to host 3 NFC title games if they had gone that way. All right, let's hear from Nick Sirianni on him playing Devontae Smith for his 1,000 yards.
We were safe with him as far as what kind of routes we were running and what he was doing. And so, that was something that we decided to do. And, obviously you can't rest everybody. There were guys that, as far as D-line reps, some of those guys played into the, through the game. We tried to limit their reps a little bit, but, and play a little bit less than they normally do. But with a position like D-line, those are the circumstances that you have. But yeah, decided to do that so he could go get 1,000, and he came out good.
All right, more on the text board. The game was far too meaningful to rest the starters. August Drums is checking in. Nick had to make a coaching decision, and he blew it again. He gets under my skin, Mike. August Drums doesn't like Nick Sirianni very much. I don't have a problem with Nick Sirianni. I just think that it's too easy to say let's rest the starters and take your chances. I don't think that they thought the Bears had a chance to lose that game yesterday, and therefore they were playing for nothing. Had they gone all out to win that game and the Bears won anyway, it would have been a waste of time. I can see the wheels turning in Sirianni's head on that. But again, the other side of it is the Bears are slumping. They got down 16-0 in that game, and I was wondering during the course of the game whether they would decide to put their starters back in just to win the game in the end, but they decided not to do that. All right, Jay Sportman again. The backups could have won this game. To me, the big problem is they seemed to coach that game yesterday to lose. It was horrible. Pass after pass with a TD lead in the second half. Yeah, that's true. The 2nd and 10, then 3rd and 10, 4-90-65 says, and they passed twice, never ran with Tank. They also decided to go for it at the 6-yard line down there. We'll go over the play-by-play in a minute. And instead of kicking the field goal, points out of that, and they squandered it. In the last quarter, a couple of 4th down situations that were wide open for Tanner McKee, and he couldn't complete the pass for the 1st down. So, all right, let's go to Tanner. Speaking of Tanner McKee, let's go to Tanner McKee on his opinion on the loss to Washington. Here's Tanner McKee.
I mean, obviously, first reaction is frustrating, just because no matter how you perform, you're always just want to get one in the win column. And so immediate, let it sting for a little bit. People always say let it sting for 24 hours and then move on. So it's definitely hurting a little bit right now. And then we're just going to go watch some film, have a lot of really good things to learn from. Me specifically, of just dumb mistakes or different things that we can learn from. The good thing is it's never going to happen again. The bad thing is you got to learn from it by losing, unfortunately. So, just if we can move on and not make those same mistakes again, then it'll be worth it in the long run.
Well, it's not going to happen again because he's not going to play again. I don't know if he ever plays for the Eagles again, to be honest with you. I think the Eagles also calculated something, and I also want to bring in Mike Warren for this. This is because Mike has a ridiculous opinion that I want to make fun of. But in this particular situation, they wanted McKee to have a good game. They had some overtures about moving him. So apparently, some teams were interested in taking Tanner McKee off their hands. They decided to keep him as the backup this year. But I'm pretty sure that they played him thinking he would have a good enough game to attract some suitors in the offseason to maybe get a decent draft pick for him. But you say that they should have actually played the 3rd-string guy in this game. Tell me why you wanted Sam Howell to play.
Well, I just think there's a storyline that wasn't talked about. Sam Howell was drafted by Washington, was let go by Washington, and people forget, but a couple of years ago against the Eagles, he took Washington to overtime against the Birds. So this guy can play at the NFL level. We've seen what Tanner McKee can do. You could have probably bolstered some of the trade talks for Sam Howell if you wanted to. He's a bit more mobile. And I threw this stat out at you, but Mike, the only person that had 35 touchdown passes and less than 7 interceptions the same season that Joe Burrow took over college football was Sam Howell. The kid can sling it. I think he deserved a shot yesterday, but we'll never know.
Let me ask you a question. Are you trying to punk me? Are you punking me with this now?
Hey man, that
wasn't even a thought that went through their head about
playing
Sam Howell against his old team.
I know, but we could have had a nice little, last dance storyline there for Sam Howell, and they missed it. They missed the opportunity, man. Ship has sailed on that one.
Oh, come on! All right, get out of here. I had enough of you after that one. Sam Howell. I mean, my God. I mean, Tanner McKee was obviously the choice to play there. He just didn't get it done. There was nothing about him that really impressed me in this game. I mean, he wasn't mobile in the pocket. He got swarmed a lot. He didn't really hang in there to wait for a pattern to develop. He did have a couple of open receivers. He sailed the ball a little bit. Anyway, let's get back to our text board. What was Ringo doing on that Josh Johnson TD run? Well, listen, if you're Keely Ringo, you don't want to give up the pass for a touchdown, right? So what you do is you think somebody snuck behind you. That Josh Johnson is in a throwing motion, and that made him retreat right away to cover the guy who may have been behind him. But you also have to be mindful of the fact that you're leaving the whole landscape open for him to run in for a touchdown on that play. So it was just a horrible play. Keely Ringo shows me no instincts to play that position whatsoever. He really doesn't. And I don't know what they see in the guy, to be honest with you. All right, we're going to take our first break on the show here. We're going to come back. We're going to go over the play-by-play of this game. Many more to come. The play-by-play, the playoff matchups, play of the game, non-play of the game. We'll go around the NFL, and we'll get you into the San Francisco 49ers matchup with the Eagles. That's coming up. This is Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. Back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Hi, it's Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody had a happy new year. Let's get to the play-by-play of this particular game. A really annoying 24-17 loss to the Washington Commanders. And interestingly enough, the Eagles end up with 11 victories. The over-under at the start in Vegas was 11.5. And at that time, I said that seems an awful fishy line, that the Eagles are better than that. Defending Super Bowl champions, you'd think it would be higher than that. So I thought the under would come out. I didn't think it would come out this way, them losing to the Commanders on the last game. All right, let's start our play-by-play. The Eagles had the first series. They punted. The Commanders had a really good drive. They went on a 10-minute drive from this point on. 4th and 5, they decided to kick a field goal or attempt to kick one. Jake Moody, 24-yarder, is no good off the upright. The Eagles take over at the 20, and there's where they put together a pretty good drive. Bigsby went for 8. Passed to Devontae for 8, then McKee to Devontae for 26. At this point, they pulled Devontae from the game. McKee then 16 more yards to Dotson, and then a beautiful throw to Calcaterra, who cut the seam and went on a skinny post, 15 yards and a touchdown. The Eagles go 80 yards there with 13:37 left in the second quarter, and they lead 7-0. The Commanders then get a pass interference call on Jacorian Bennett to give them a first down at the 1-yard line. Rodriguez bores it in for the TD. It was a 7-7 game there, 65-yard drive right there. Now, the Eagles had a chance to score in their next drive. They had a 4th and 1 at the 6. Now, you think you kick a field goal there to go ahead 10-7. They did not. They decided to go for it. McKee was flushed out of the pocket. He threw incomplete, so they turned the ball over at that particular situation. Then Jalix Hunt gets the pick. Jalix Hunt made history yesterday, by the way. He became the first player in Eagles franchise history to lead the team in sacks and interceptions. That's pretty lofty, man. Jalix Hunt's had a pretty good year. Anyway, he gets the pick at the Washington 22 as he dropped into coverage beautifully on that play. And McKee to Cooper, they got to the 5-yard line, 17-yard play. But a taunting penalty as he spun the ball at the defender. That took them back to the 20. And on a 3rd and 10, McKee gets intercepted in the red zone. So just horrendous. That led to a field goal by Washington where Moody, who missed a 24-yarder, connects on a 56-yard field goal to go up 10-7. The Eagles in that first half went twice deep into the red zone and did not score and wound up giving up a 3 out of that whole thing. So we go to this second half. The Eagles took over at the 9-yard line. And on that play, it was an interesting play because the punt sails over Covey's head. Instead of Covey going back and catching the ball, he let the ball go over his head and it bounced, and they took over at the 9-yard line. Now, I mean, I didn't understand that decision. Why are you back there? You're not back there to let the ball go over your head. I mean, you were like at about the 20-yard line. It wasn't going to bounce into the end zone when it went over your head. Anyway, 4th and 1, they decided to punt the ball and not go for it there. Washington then takes over at the 33-yard line. The snap goes through Johnson's hands, fumble. It was recovered by Hunt at the 28, and the Eagles take advantage of that. They go on a nice drive. First down throw to Covey for 9, then Bigsby to the 12, then Bigsby to the 6, then Bigsby to the 3, then Bigsby to the 2, and then Bigsby on 3rd and goal plunges in for the touchdown to make it 14-10 Eagles. Washington punts on their next possession, and the Eagles again take it down and score. The Eagles took over at the 27-yard line. Calcaterra hurt after a reception, though, on that particular series. But the Eagles are driving. They get good contributions from Covey, from Granson, and from Bigsby. They get the ball to the 23, but they stall right there. Field goal attempt of 39 yards is good. So it is 17-10 Eagles with 30 seconds left in the third quarter. We go into the fourth quarter. Washington gets another nice drive. McWilliams gives Washington the ball at the 1 on a pass interference penalty. A false start pushes the Commanders back to the 6. Now a pass interference again on Bennett. It gets them back to the 1. Tackle for a loss. Byron Young makes a nice play there. They get back to the 4-yard line, but Johnson rolls right and hits John Bates, the tight end, for a touchdown. That ties the game 17-17. The Eagles' next possession was a punt, and the Washington Commanders come right back down the field to take the lead and get the game-winning touchdown. They took over at the 19. Pass interference on Keely Ringo brings the ball to the Eagles' 45. Rodriguez got it to the 34. Flat pass to Rodriguez gets it down to the 14. Johnson scrambles for a first down to the 4. Rodriguez to the 1. Again, a false start takes him back to the 6. There was some bad football played in this game, folks. Rodriguez now gets to the 2, and there's Johnson with the bootleg run for the touchdown where he was looking to throw to somebody, but Keely Ringo parted the Red Sea, and Johnson scurries in for a touchdown there. The Eagles still had plenty of chances to tie this game and go ahead. They took over at the 35-yard line, and they moved the ball pretty decisively down the field. On the 3rd and 11 at the 2-minute warning, McKee makes a nice completion to Dotson for 17 yards, gets the first down. McKee then pressured incomplete, then complete to Granson to the 31, and then a deep pass, which was incomplete. And then on 4th and 3, he's got somebody open to on the left side. Granson was wide open, but incomplete there. So they didn't score there. They had to turn the ball back over. They got another chance to do it on a punt. They took over at the 28. McKee pressured, incomplete, throws it away again. 3rd and 10. He gets sacked by Von Miller. And on 4th and 18, he threw the ball out of bounds. I mean, it wasn't even a play where you could actually catch a ball or give your guy a chance to catch a ball. He threw it out of bounds. So terrible, terrible game by Tanner McKee. I know that it brought me back to like the middle of the season when Jalen Hurts was struggling, and we had these yahoos on Sports Talk Radio talking about, well, you need to bench Hurts and play McKee. And I'm going, come on, dude, seriously? What is going on with that? I mean, that's horrendous. All right. Play of the game and the non-play of the game are the same. It's Keely Ringo. What he was doing on that play, I have no idea, but I assume that he thought there was a receiver behind him that he had to cover up for. He didn't make that play, so that's the play of the game for the Commanders and the non-play of the game for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, let's take another break. We're going to come back. We're going to go around the NFL. We're going to look at the San Francisco 49ers matchup. All that is to come right here on Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. Back after this.
The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at penncommunitybank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
All right, back with Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. Let's look at our playoff matchups. All right, so the Seahawks in Denver. The Broncos get the number 1 seed, and they get the rest. The Bears will host the Packers. Interesting little matchup there. The Bears could very well lose that game. I mean, who knows? The Eagles will host the 49ers, and then the Rams will go to Carolina, and that already is a double-digit line on that game. In the AFC, you got New England hosting the Chargers. So the Chargers, the warm weather Chargers, have to go to cold New England for that game. The Bills, cold weather Bills, will have to go to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars, which is a very hot team, by the way. The Jags could upset somebody in this whole tournament. And then the Texans will play the Steelers, who defeated the Ravens in a thriller last night and wound up winning the game because of a missed field goal. Let's look now at our odds and projecting the let's look at the NFC playoff odds here. The Seahawks have a 48.3 chance to win the NFC. They have a 24.1 chance to win the Super Bowl. So they are heavily favored to win the NFC. The Rams on the projection model, 20% chance to win the NFC, 9.9% chance to win the Super Bowl. The Eagles, 15.3% to win the NFC. That is way behind the Seahawks at 48.3. The Eagles have a 7.6% chance to win the Super Bowl. And then the Bears at 7.0% to win the NFC. The Packers, 4.2%. The 49ers way down there, 3.2. So maybe it's not going to be as hard of a first-round matchup as I think it'll be. And the Panthers, the lowly Panthers down there with a losing record into the playoffs, 1.8% chance to win the NFC. All right, so let's bring in Mike again. Mike, which one of these matchups intrigues you the most in the NFC and the AFC? We'll start with the NFC.
NFC, definitely Bears and Packers. I think, anytime you got a teams playing for the third time, especially in division, I know Green Bay knows that they left meat on the bone a couple of times against Chicago this year, and I'm not going to be surprised if Green Bay goes into Chicago and pulls off the upset. I don't think they're even looking at it as an upset. If you talk with Matt LaFleur, I'm sure he's saying, no, this is a game that we expect to win and that we should win. The Packers have been in more of these games of late than the Bears have in terms of playoff quality and playoff games. So, yeah, I think Green Bay is the team for me to watch going into Chicago. I think they're absolutely capable of winning that game.
Okay. If you're talking now the 49ers Eagles, I assume that you think the Eagles will win that.
I do. I think if the Eagles defense does what they've done all season long, they set the precedent with the physicality. I think they win this game. Not as much easily because we don't know what's going to happen on offense, but I think they win this football game.
All right, let's extrapolate this whole thing out now, because then you have the Rams against Carolina. I don't think that that'll be a match for the Rams at all. So the Rams win that game, which means the Eagles would play the Rams in the second round. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a game I'm not as confident going into. Matt Stafford has a lot to prove, and that Rams team, they've got the chip on their shoulder. They think that they're one play away from playing for the Super Bowl last year. So, yeah, the Rams are, in my opinion, they're the sneakiest team and the best team in the NFC. I know that a lot of people have eyes on them because of what they put on paper this year offensively, but this is a team that can beat anybody. And even though they lost to Carolina earlier this year in pretty shocking fashion, I think that they're going to rout them in the first round of the playoffs.
Okay, let's move over to the AFC. We got the Chargers going to New England. I assume you think New England wins that one?
I do. Drake May is too good. He's too sharp. And, yeah, I like Mike Vrabel a lot, the intensity that he brings.
All right, how about the Bills at the Jaguars?
This is my game to watch in the AFC. I think the Jags pull off the upset here. Too much hype is around Josh Allen. He's a really good quarterback, but he's not Pat Mahomes, and he's definitely not Jalen Hurts. There's an ability for both of those two quarterbacks I stated before Josh Allen. They find ways to win games. Josh Allen doesn't really do that. He plays well and fills up the stat sheet, but in crunch time, he kind of withers. So I don't necessarily see the Bills. If they win, they win. But I think the Jags are going to have a really good game plan. And I think if Trevor Lawrence plays a cleaner game than Josh Allen, they're going to win that game.
I actually like the way you think. Now, the 4 versus 5, Steelers, Texans. Texans defense is just impossible to play against. I like the Texans in that game. Do you like the Texans?
I love them. I think C.J. Stroud is back to playing where he was his rookie year, where he kind of just took the league by storm. And DeMeco Ryans in this defense, I mean, they are just a pack of dogs foaming at the mouth. They get after the football, and, yeah, they're physical. They're very, very physical.
And you know what that would do in the second round? That means Denver would play the Texans, and that game might be 3-0.
Yeah. Denver's got a good
best defenses
too.
in the league right there.
Right. Yeah. Denver's got a great defense too. And that's a game where Bo Nix is probably going to be running for his life a lot of the time. So, yeah, you're really going to have to predicate quarterback play, who can make the most out of what each defense is showing them in that matchup. And I think the Texans have the advantage just because, again, you know, what C.J. Stroud is able to do when the play breaks down. Not saying Bo Nix can't, but I give the upper edge to the Texans.
Okay. Would you like to go around the NFL right now?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go around the NFL on some of the games that were played yesterday. Of course, a lot of circumstances that happened yesterday, a day when the Bears lost at the buzzer on a field goal, where Myles Garrett got the sack record, where coaches were getting axed like crazy. I mean, the 4 coaches. Am I missing somebody? Stefanski, Gannon, Carroll, and Morris got zipped. Who else? Did I miss anybody? That's 4 coaches that got fired.
Yeah, I think you nailed it all. They're calling this today. It's Black Monday, they call it, across the NFL. Guys are getting axed left and right. But I will say this. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I think he is this year's version of Mike Vrabel. There's going to be a team out there that wants Kevin Stefanski in their coach's room, you know, making big decisions for them on Sundays.
He's likely to get a job, and nobody else will get a job of the coaches that were fired, right? Yeah, Stefanski will get a job.
Definitely, and I think if anyone else gets a job out of that group, it's probably Daboll as an OC somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see.
I forgot about Daboll. Daboll had gotten fired a long time ago, so I forgot about him on Black Monday. He got fired on a Monday, but it was the sun was out and he got fired. That wasn't Black Monday. All right, let's go around the NFL. Let's first start with the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield trying to hold on as they win the game, but they had to root for the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints couldn't pull it off. Mayfield threw a touchdown pass to Kate Otten. Chase McLaughlin kicked 3 field goals. The Buccaneers avoided elimination for the time period with a sloppy 16-14 victory in the rain. It was a horrible thing. It's funny because I'm watching the game and I'm going, can we wipe that camera? I mean, we were looking through raindrops the whole time, trying to watch this game. I don't understand it. Anyway, the Buccaneers needed New Orleans to beat or tie Atlanta. They did not do that. So let's go to the highlight of the game. This is Baker Mayfield to Kate Otten for the 18-yard touchdown.
Mayfield from the pocket, swings it across the middle, touchdown, Kate Otten, and Tampa Bay right down the field.
All right, there you go. That was the big highlight for that game. Let's go now to the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. Another game that was the winner would get the number 1 seed. The loser would get pushed down to play the Eagles. So the Seattle Seahawks now got the number 1 seed. Zach Charbonnet scored on a 27-yard run in the first quarter. Seattle shut down the San Francisco offense. 13-3 victory over the 49ers. I don't know if anybody expected that they would only score 3 points in that game. Seattle won its first NFC West title since 2020, and now will host every game right there. 2 home wins away from returning to the Super Bowl next month. Levi Stadium, by the way, as they beat the San Francisco. It's just the 4th season-ending game ever where the winner was guaranteed the top seed in the playoffs. Let's go with the Charbonnet 27-yard run versus the 49ers. Here we go.
3rd down and 2. Charbonnet. He's got it and plenty more. Touchdown, Seattle.
All right, now this game was crazy. Steelers, Ravens, back and forth. It looked like the Ravens had a real chance to win this game, but it did not happen as Loop missed the field goal at the buzzer. Rodgers threw for a season-high 294 yards, the last 26 coming on the go-ahead touchdown pass to Calvin Austin III with 55 seconds left. The Steelers got the AFC North title in 5 years, but it wasn't assured until Tyler Loop missed the 44-yard field goal as time expires. Let's first get there was a big play in here. Lamar Jackson to Zay Flowers over the top on a beautiful throw. Let's hear that highlight.
Mark Andrews just 2 catches tonight. 3rd and 4. Steelers bring 4. Highsmith is there. Jackson got away. Now reloads and throws to Flowers downfield. He's got it for a touchdown. They had Jackson. 2 Steelers. He escaped and finds Flowers, and the Ravens take the lead.
Now that was just an amazing, amazing play. Really beautiful throw by Lamar on that play. And he also got Flowers again deep. So like they were filling the air with footballs. With all these wide open receivers in this game, here's Lamar to Zay Flowers again with a deep throw.
Shotgun. 3rd and 1. Fake to Henry Jackson. Shot downfield. Zay Flowers again. Zay Flowers inside the 20. He's going to go. There is a flag on the far side of the field.
Well, that was a good catch. Turned out to be Lamar just amazing. But so is Aaron Rodgers. You know, when you acquire a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you acquire him for this kind of a moment. I mean, he had a brilliant game. He was throwing dimes all game long, and here he is to Calvin Austin. This was the big touchdown that took the lead late.
Rodgers protected. Throws to Austin for the touchdown.
Mike Tirico was going nuts in that game.
This was a primetime Tirico game, man. It really was. He was having fun.
It really was a primetime Tirico game. So now let's go to the culprit here. This guy had not missed at this distance all year long. Tyler Loop. I tell you, if I'm a player and I sweat and toil through a whole game and I lose when I think I'm going to win because of a kicker, I don't know what I would do. But let's hear the final play of the game, the final highlight of the game. Here it is, the kicker. You win or lose with the kicker. Let's hear it.
Snap good. Hold it. The kick is no good. It is wide right. And the Steelers are the champions of the North.
It looked like he was going to cry. It looked like he started to cry on the field. He put his hands in his helmet like this to hide his face. But like, if you're, I'm going to put Mike. I'll put you in this spot. You're a defensive or an offensive lineman who've been crashing people all day long. You're bloody, you're sweaty, and you're just nasty. And a game comes down where you think you're advancing to the playoffs, and that happens. How would you feel about that kicker?
I'm irate. I'm pretty fired up. I definitely don't want to see him in the locker room after the game. I definitely don't, have any nice words for him. But, at the end of it all, man, this is why, it comes down to kickers just need to do their job. This is why the skill guys and the offensive linemen, they feel this way. I mean, think back to 2017 when the Eagles made their first run, that vintage clip of Jason Peters going up to Jake Elliott and go, "Hey, kicker, no more misses, no more misses." And he hits a 61-yarder to win the game. Like, it means that much to these guys. And yeah, the kickers are looked at just having one job. You just need to do that one job. And when you're not able to do it, you're out of that one job.
Listen, if it was 50 yards plus, I could see, you give the guys some slack. It's a tough field goal to kick from there. But an makeable field goal like that where you can, win a division and get your team into the playoffs, I mean, that's got to, forget about what it does to the team. That kicker's got to feel that for a long period of time. I mean, that's a missed kick that could destroy your career. It really is.
You look over at that sideline, Harbaugh hugging Likely as he comes over, like telling him, just what a great job he did to put them in that spot. And you look at what the Ravens, how they've lost in the playoffs to end seasons the last couple of years. It's been nothing but dramatic, nothing but heartbreak. This team is like the modern day version of the Buffalo Bills, where they don't make the Super Bowl. They have their heartbreak far before it. And it feels as if they've lost the Super Bowl every year. So yeah, tough loss for the Ravens there.
Yeah, horrible loss. All right, so let's sort this out now. The Eagles against the 49ers. They will host the 49ers. Brock Purdy will return as a healthy Brock Purdy. So do you have some numbers so we can study here for this matchup?
Yeah, there's some glaring ones, Mike. When you look at the overall offense for the 49ers, they're averaging 351 total yards per game. That ranks them in the top 10 at 7th. However, rushing yards wise, not as effective. They're below the Eagles, 24th in rushing yards per game, 107 rushing yards per game, that is. Passing wise, they're 5th, right at 245 passing yards per game. And the one thing that stands out with this team is the amount of times that they have given up the football this year. 22 giveaways from this 49ers offense. They are a -6 in the turnover differential to the Eagles +6 on the season. There's tons of holes both for this Eagles defense to exploit in the Niners offense. Let's look at their defense. 340 yards per game they give up. That's 20th in the league. 232 of those per game are passing yards. That's 25th in the league. They give up 107 rushing yards per game. That's 11th, which is pretty good considering they don't have Fred Warner or Bosa. They're still stopping the run. But they give up 21.8 points per game. That's 13th. And we mentioned it, the -6 in the turnover battle. If Jalen Hurts takes care of the football, and if this defense, which predicates on ripping it away from the other team and giving it back to the offense, can do so just one time, the Eagles should win this football game.
All right, so not good against the pass. Would that entice the offensive coordinator to throw the ball against this team as their main thrust?
Yeah, it does. And it makes you have to use A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field. Anybody with half a brain knows that the 49ers don't have Fred Warner in the middle of this defense, which means the middle of the field is wide open. No one on this Niners defense can cover Goddard, and no one can cover A.J. Brown. So get the ball into the middle of the field. The one guy to watch out for in this game is Jair Brown, their safety for the Niners. He comes down, he forces the ball out. He's got a lot of turnovers forced for them this season. He's a guy that you have to watch out for. But again, he's one guy. So the Eagles have a lot in their favor going into this matchup.
He's a local guy, of course, and a Penn State product.
Yes, he is. Trenton Central High School and Lackawanna Junior College product as well. Shout out to my guy Jair, man.
All right, so it's like okay, the 49ers offense now, it's going to be a kind of a chess game because you got Kyle Shanahan versus Vic Fangio. A lot of shifts, a lot of motion. Their offense is pretty darn good. Now, if they're pretty good at stopping the run. But what about the other side? Can the Eagles stop what they do offensively?
I think they can. It's all about getting pressure on Purdy. And these late games for Brock Purdy typically don't favor him in terms of playing outside in the cold, playing away from California. And if there's a little bit of moisture in the air, I think we're going to see a pretty sloppy game from Brock Purdy as a whole. So if this front four can get pressure, if the secondary can play the way that they have, yeah, you can take the ball away from Brock Purdy. He's susceptible to the turnovers this year. So shutting down the passing game's big. Jawan Jennings is their clear number 1. Christian McCaffrey is their clear number 2. And Kittle hasn't even really gotten involved at all this year because they've had to use him as a blocker. So I don't expect George Kittle to be that much of a threat as he was in years past in this matchup. And I really think it's all about the Eagles defense making Brock Purdy uncomfortable like
All
it
right,
was.
so
the
forget
first time
about what
around.
I said at the beginning about my worries about not getting the number 2 seed, right? That's what we're talking about right now. 49ers, our team. But the line is pretty slender still. 3.5 is a slender line coming in. I don't trust that line a little bit. You think all the matchups favor the Eagles. They're home field, the whole bit. They're better than the 49ers. The 49ers are all banged up, but only a 3.5 point line, kind of a home field advantage plus a half a point.
And I think that's just because you can't trust this offense. There's not been a consistent sample size outside of 3 weeks of football where this team has been, okay, that's who they are offensively. So until they put together a game in a playoff setting where they put up 35 points, like we talked about last week, when's the offense going to punch somebody in the mouth, Mike? The defense has done it all year long. The offense has to do it, and that's why Vegas has the line where it is, because they know that this offense is susceptible to not scoring points.
All right. So in wrapping it up right now, the Eagles lose to the Commanders. They lose the number 2 seed. They could have had the number 2 seed. They could have played Green Bay in the first round instead of they had to play the 49ers. But as you just heard, we think the Eagles are a better team than the 49ers, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But in the second round, they may have to play the Rams. You never know. Where in the other situation, if the Bears would have beaten the Packers, then the Eagles would have gone to Chicago for that. So regarding the line, Mike, it opened up at 2.5. And I've seen it at 4.5 some places already. Seems like the money is driving that line up already. It started at 2.5. I didn't see where it would start at 2.5.
I honestly didn't either. I haven't been too attentive with my betting lines this year. I've been taking a break from the gambling. So.
Oh, God. Good for you. You can just read the line. You don't have to put your money down, right? You look at the line as the indicator of
I get tempted too easily,
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching the Birds Brunch show with Mike Missanelli and Mike Warren today. Doing a nice job producing. Mike, you had somebody mentioned you had a old school filing cabinet in the background in your shop. Are you at the office right now? They have an old school.
I am. Yeah. I made the transition. I was in my actual office at the beginning, and now I'm in more of a studio setting. So I did have a ton of old filing cabinets behind me at the beginning of the show. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they said you might want to modernize those filing cabinets. So
we got a lot of modernized here. That's for sure. Come on over. We'll show you.
All right. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out and participating on our chat board. For Mike Warren, I'm Mike Missanelli. We'll catch you this week with Anthony Sanfilippo with the Mike Missanelli podcast right here on the On Patterson Network, On Patterson YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you. Bye-bye.